Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachawadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders and great millstone who rule well and teach well with sincerity, honesty, and integrity. Brothers labor in his truth, putting their life on the line, especially in these times. Salutations to you, brothers, and you brothers and sisters who believe in this truth wholeheartedly and sincerely. Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, so let me grab this real quick. This is going to be a quick watch and pray. If you've been under a rock somewhere, you would been you wouldn't have seen that, things is turning up in the world, geopolitically, right? When it comes to, you know, when it comes to, things going on like the rumors of war, right? Matter of fact, let's grab this some scriptures. Matthew. Let me get the one I know. It's like let me get Matthew 24 verse um uh start at 3. And he sat upon let's just start at 1. Matthew 24:1. And Yahweh Shai went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him for came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yahweh Shai said unto them, see ye not all these things? Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left there one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And Yahweh Shai answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiach, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. All right, so this currently right now is rumor of war, right? U.S. military moves into place for possible strikes in Iran. And I'm going to read a little bit of this article, but we'll expound on how this is significant when it comes to prophecy. All right, and it reads, the rapid buildup of U.S. forces in the Middle East has progressed to the point that President Trump has the option to take military action against Iran as soon as this weekend. Administration and Pentagon officials said leaving the White House with high-stake choices about pursuing diplomacy or war. All right, you see? So Mr. Trump has given no indication that he has made a decision about how to proceed, but the drive to assemble a military force capable of striking Iran's nuclear program, its ballistic missiles, its ballistic missiles and accompanying launch sites has continued this week despite indirect talks between the two nations on Tuesday, with Iran seeking 2 weeks to come back with fleshed out proposals for a diplomatic resolution. All right, because you see, America, on the behalf of Israel, right? They want Iran to stop, producing uranium, right? And stop with their nuclear sites and, to have a deal when it comes to their ballistic missiles. But ultimately, that will make Iranian weak, and they understand the importance of building up their arsenal, because one, it has something to do with prophecy, but two, when you have enemies as big as America, and you have who's the hammer of the earth, and on the behalf of Israel, who's been bombing, these nations, these other countries that surround Iran, and they going back and forth, right? But Iran needs these ballistic missiles, and to build up the nuclear capability for protection, right? So that's a no deal on the behalf of Iran, right? They're saying that's a no deal, right? But America wants them in order for them to have a peace talks and fulfill that peace, right? They want them to stop moving forward when it comes to, like I just said, they're building up the uranium, right? Because watch, I'm gonna show you some. I'm gonna go in here. This is ChatGPT. Matter of fact, let me get this real quick first. All right, so it says has Iran restarted building up their nuclear power? And it says, as of February 2006, the status of Iran's nuclear program is characterized by a differential reconstruction doctrine following significant military setbacks in mid-2025, right? And it's going to tell you why. After Israeli and U.S. airstrikes, Operation Rosaline, Midnight Hammer, you see? Because, wow, man, see, the scriptures, man, is bringing it all out, man. You see, and the scriptures was written thousands of years ago, and look how it's coming out. These, this is the things that are in the scriptures coming out now. For lack of better words, right? Matter of fact, let me grab that scripture because it said that. Jeremiah 50 in verse 23, it said, how is the hammer of the earth cut asunder and broken? How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? All right. And eventually there will be a desolation among the nations. And this is the hammer of the earth is Babylon. Today, you equate Babylon to America. All right. That great city, the daughter of Babylon. All right. And Israeli, right? It's in the same, I think it's the same chapter. Yep, Jeremiah 50. Jeremiah 50 in verse 45, and it reads, therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord that he have taken against Babylon, right? And his purposes that he have purpose against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock, which is Israel, right? The Israeli, like you just seen, right? Shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. You see? So those two countries has a lot to do when it comes to prophecy, right? And we just read it. All right. So it says, in June 2025, targeted by key facilities, Iran has shifted toward rebuilding, fortifying, and expanding its nuclear infrastructure, right? So they only got stronger, and every day that goes by, they continue. It's a day closer to their goal, right? So as we read, infrastructure reconstruction, satellite imagery from early 2026 reveals that Iran is rebuilding over half of two dozen sites hit in 2025. Notable activity includes Telegon 2, Pixcom. I'm not gonna read those, but I will give you the name Isfahan and not Natanz. All right, but I wanted to get this. The nuclear power expansion. In September 2025, Iran signed a $25 billion deal with Russia. All right. Remember when you go on Ezekiel 38, they should be a god unto Persia. Who's Persia? Iran. Iran is the modern name for Persia. All right. to construct 4 new nuclear power reactors, 5 GW total capacity, in Hormozgan province. Plans for additional units at a Bushler and the indigenous IR-360 reactor or Darkovin are also proceeding. All right, and let's read this. Enrichment and stockpiles. Despite the 2025 strikes, the IAEA reports that Iran's enriched material remains largely intact. As of early 2026, Iran maintains a stockpile of 60% enriched uranium, which experts say could be redefined to weapons grade 90% in a matter of weeks. You see? And then you see how Iran, playing that game, like, hey, you give us 2 more weeks and we'll come. But they're not going to give up their weapons, man. They won't. See, because like we just read in the article, that they, within these peace talks, knowing what America, terms are, they're going against those terms, man. So they're not going to be able to come to no agreement when it comes to, Iran stopping their building up their nuclear capability. All right. So it reads deadlock. Following a February 2026 meeting in Geneva, Iran reportedly offered to temporarily cap enrichment at low levels for 3 to 5 years in exchange for sanctions relief. However, President Trump has issued a 2-week deadline for a meaningful deal, warning of further military consequences of diplomacy if diplomacy fails. Right? Excuse me. All right. So going back to that article, and it reads, Mr. Trump has reportedly demanded that Iran give up its nuclear program, including agreeing not to enrich any more uranium. So they're not going to do that. Look, here goes the small hats right here. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, right, of Israel, whose country would potentially take part in an attack, has been pushing for action to weaken Iran's ability to launch missiles at Israel. Israeli forces, which have been on heightened alert for weeks, have been making more preparation for a possible war, and a meeting of Israel's country cabinet was moved to Sunday from Thursday, according to 2 Israeli defense officials, right? Because they're not coming to those agreements. That's why you see this threat from the U.S. military. All right. Matter of fact, I wanted to show you this. Matter of fact, let's go back and let's read some of these headlines. It says, as Trump weighs possible Iran strikes, U.S. military moves into place. Trump says world has 10 days to see if Iran agrees deal or bad things happen. You see? So we're going to see what happens, man. But we know this, right? Let's get these scriptures. Second Ezra 4 and down 37. It reads, by measure have he measured the times, and by number have he numbered the times, and he doeth not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled. All right, so we understand that there's other prophecies that will come to pass before we're in a all-out world war, right? These are the foundation is being laid for that Third World War, right? This is the beginning of that Third World War. Like how we say we're in the beginning of Jacob's trouble, we're in the beginning of the Third World War. These things is the groundwork is being laid out there, right? The infrastructure of it, right? And then next thing you know, we're gonna be in the climax. We're gonna be right in the middle of Jacob's trouble, right? In the and the scriptures talk about before, right here, I'm going to bring it, matter of fact. Revelation 18 and 5 and 4, and it reads, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And ultimately, those plagues is talking about those thermonuclear missiles, man, them ICBM missiles, right? And that's that seventh trumpet, man. You see, so we're gonna be saved out of it. All right, so Lord willing, that's Lord willing. You see, because he that endureth to the end shall be saved, right? But we have faith, we have hope, we have hope, that we will be part of that number that gets saved out of it. All right, so it reads, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and Yahweh Hashem Yahushua remembered her iniquities, all right? Because ultimately, Babylon will see its demise, right? You're starting to see it, economically, you know, um, it's bladed themselves with thick clay, So these banking elite families, man, they're starting to go into a whole new way of on how they make transactions, which is going to be, 100% digitally, man, and that's going to be, they're going to track. They want to track everything, man. So ultimately, they're gonna, implement that MOTB. That's why we know that has to come to pass before, all hell break. All, like before we're in all out war. All right. But these are the rumors of war that we're seeing, man. These are the major players, you know. The major players is getting themselves ready for this all out war. All right, so that's how we know that the MOTB is right around the corner, man. All right, because we know they've been going back and forth for years, but things is becoming more hot. You know, when they had we getting closer to this is a warm war, right? We getting closer to a hot war. You know, so we're seeing these things happening, and we just got to sit back and just continue to do our part. Watch and pray, and continue to, as being the ones that's, got the hand on the plows, warn our people, man. Salvation is nearer than we believe. All right, when you see these things, just letting you know how close we are to the end, to Yahweh Shah pulling up, to, them, to we're in the time we haven't seen since we're a nation, which is the climax of Jacob's trouble, man. The height of Jacob's trouble. All right, so we seeing these things, right? Here's one. Yep, yep. Watch this. Iran's allies with Russia. Iran and Russia have solidified a no-limits strategic partnership based on shared anti-Western, anti-NATO ideologies, deeply intensifying their alliance following Russia's 2022 Ukraine invasion. They cooperate extensively on military technology, with Iran supplying drones and reportedly missiles, while collaborating on economic, energy, and regional security issues such as in Syria to circumvent international sanctions. Key aspects of the alliance include military cooperation. Iran has provided Shahed attack drones and assisted in building a drone factory in Russia. In exchange, Russia provides or is expected to provide Advanced military technology include a fighter aircraft and air defense systems to assist with Iran's defense needs. You see? So, these right here, and it says limits to the alliance despite the deep ties, the relationship is not a formal military alliance, right? But it's only getting that alliance it's only gonna get tighter, man, because we understand, right? When you go on Ezekiel, I'll just go grab it. Ezekiel 38, and it reads. I'm gonna get straight to the point. Um, 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 Ezekiel 38 and 20, and Ezekiel 38 and 3, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. Matter of fact, let me just start at the top. Ezekiel 38 and 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against God in the land of Magog. All right, and that's modern day Russia. The chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against them, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Right? And it reads, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords, right? Because the Lord is putting those hooks back in the jaws of Russia, and having them getting back into that military mind state where they want to, you know, you know, build up their nuclear arsenal. Eventually put that spirit in them where they're gonna want to go to war with America. All right, because he's the one's in control. The hearts of these kings is in the hands of the Lord, and He can control them whatsoever He wants them to do. Right, they're gonna do. All right, a man's going is of the Lord. How can they then understand their own way? Because the Lord is in control. He's putting His spirit. He's sealing the instructions in these kings' minds to do His will. Right, because ultimately, again, Russia is a major, major, a major piece, a major player when it comes to prophecy, and because they're the beast, they're the feet, they're the feet of the beast, Salakia. They're the bear. That's what I meant. They're the bear that's gonna bring, that beast down, right? So when you go into Revelation, right, they're the bear at the feet of the beast that's gonna bring that beast down, all right? Because they're gonna be, that great assembly of nations, right? And here we go. Look at Persia, Ethiopia. Matter of fact, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. All of them with Sheld and Hammett, right? So Persia, which is Iran. All right, so going back when it says, you know, they don't have, they're not official. It's not a formal military alliance, right? Um, See, Iran covertly repositioned strike drones in amid Russia drills in Strait of Hormuz. Expert says Iran's navy holds. This is 3 hours ago. Iran's navy holds joint military exercises with Russia amid renewed threats from Trump. Do you see? So you see how the scriptures is popping off the pages. The words of the Lord is popping off the pages, man. Right now, you see. This is all within the scriptures, man. That's what you see what's going on in the world today is all in the scriptures, man. But we understand that we have to go through, we have to see one major prophecy come to pass before we're at the end of Esau Edom's rulership, man. But we're at the man. The scripture says, "Better the end of a thing than the beginning thereof." We're at the end of Esau Edom's rulership in his kingdom, man. It's beautiful times, man. All right, but see what Iran's naval exercise with China and Russia in the Strait of Hormuz actually means, right? So, because that's a major strait where you know, where business is being conducted, right? So, right, let's get that. The Strait of Hormuz is a critical global checkpoint with roughly 20 million barrels of oil per day, nearly 600 billion worth annually as of early 2023. All right. So, you know, roughly 20 million barrels of oil and liquids pass through daily. So you see how that's important, right? So when them having those military drills just shows, man, they're willing to do what it takes to, you know, to back America up and and Israel up, basically, you know. And they're saying they're not they literally said they well, they're willing to take it there, man, with the big bad wolf, the big bad bully. They're willing to take it there, man, because they're not going to give up their nuclear they're not going to give up and continue to building up their nuclear capability. All right. And that just shows you, man, the weak is saying I'm strong, because when you have you have those alliances, they're weeks away from being that weapon grade, and that's what they say. How do we know they're not already there, man? You see? So we're in beautiful times, man. When people are caught up in everything else, like yes, all those distractions, like the Frankenstein, we're getting closer and closer to Esau Edom's his rulership being over with, man. You know, and that's why you start seeing him being sloppy. He's being made bare. Esau's being made bare. Everybody's starting to see Esau for who he really is. Even the regular, the average Joe, man, they can start seeing Esau Edom, so-called white man, as being, a base man, you know, a wild man, a Neanderthal man. Like he's just a he he's he's just a Neanderthal shaved and cleaned up and put in a suit, man. But now he's gonna eventually go back to his natural state, man. He's a abominable man. You see, he does abominable acts. You see the things that's coming out on his reputation, man, and how he get down. And then they quick to point the finger at Jake and how we get down. But man, these people, man, when it goes into sex trafficking, that's the um number one industry in America. I mean, not in America, in the world, right? And guess who's behind that, man? These small these elite banking families, these small hats, man, the wicked, man, and they get into so many different rituals, like it's coming out, different rituals, but all these things that's happening. But see, this is that shameful spewing on their glory, man. See, this is Esau Edom looking like who he really is, man. The wicked. And everybody's starting to see him for who he really is, man. All right? And that's why we also starting to see the end of Esau's Edom's kingdom, man. Salakia. All right? But, I just wanted to touch on that. Just a quick watch and pray. Look, probably see what's going on tomorrow. Maybe put another one out there. We'll see what happens through the Lord willing. Through the Lord willing, we'll see what happens. All right, through the Spirit and power, y'all, Shalom to the whole